Hi there folks, just having a moment, wishing you could still see that Halifax is leaving the airfield. I like this room. From the very moment I first saw this building, something about this room, I don't know, I was drawn to it. In the early days I used to store my tools and things in here. And now it's, I feel like moving in. Anyway, the museum's closed. The RAF Snaith Museum had its first opening of the year over the Easter weekend, which was a great success. And now the volunteers are all having a well-earned break. But I have got a few projects that I need doing, hopefully, before May and the grand opening. So let's go take a look. Certainly has a different feel to the place now. Now George. As you can see, it's George's room. We now have a resident wife. So, things that I need to do. Well, after painting the reduction gear on this, on the Bristol Hercules, turns out it's a pretty good match for the original, which we did have the casing on display. That's now in the workshop. Also, we've gained another cylinder from Halifax, MZ765. This one's on loan from Ben, that came last year. Or was it the year before? It's been here a little while. You can see, MZ765. And then a chap called Peter goes, oh, I've got one. And that's also MZ765, which flew with 51 Squadron. And one thing I did notice, it still has its spark plugs in, and they look in good condition. More about that later. Here's a little side note. One of our display boards mentions the bomb dump explosion at RAF Snaith on the 19th of June 1943. It was a huge explosion caused by one bomb going off, and I had to see these folks, but it caused utter destruction, killing several people, and it was several days before they could actually go on to the area to, how should we say, recover the bodies and assess the real damage. And it's nice to see the board, the photos, but what really brings it to life is something that came into the museum at the weekend. So, this is what came to the museum. 2 pieces of shrapnel. As you can see, it's a very thin metal, very sharp as well. Now I don't know all the details. We get told so much information on an open day that it's hard to remember who said what, where and how, but I will find out. But looking at the thinness of that, It does make me wonder if it was a blast bomb, as in the cookie, which came in £4,000 and £8,000. I think the Halifax used the £4,000 more, but they were a blast bomb with a thin casing, and that looks very thin. And God knows what that probably passed through when it exploded. It really kind of brings that bomb dump explosion to life. A tragic event, folks. What a mess. Really need to have a tidy up. Made some space getting the Bristol Hercules out, but then something else turned up. What you see in front of you there is actually the engine cowlings from a Lancaster bomber. It was a Canadian built Lancaster KB 974. And when you look at its history, it came over here in 45, and it looks like it hung around the maintenance units and then went back to Canada, and then eventually it was scrapped in Canada, which begs the question, why are these bits still here? So for something that's 79 years old, they're not in that bad a condition. You can see the exhaust would stick out of that slot. You've got the top cover, the other side cover, and you can see there KB 974. And there's little identification tags all over. And then that's the bit that sits under these panels. You would have had the air intake scoops on the side there. Sadly, we're lacking the very front part, which is a shame because it does assemble together and it would look nice on display. So yeah, if you've got the front and maybe a Merlin to go inside it, comment below. Speaking of Merlin engines, we do have one here from HR 871, which spent pretty much 79 years at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. Now this one, it's been here since last August, and she's going to get some attention shortly. We need to get it turned over, we need to get some preserving stuff on it, and then create a display with the full story. This engine and the tail wheel and associated bits and pieces we have are all courtesy of Halifax 57 Rescue and the Bomber Command Museum of Canada. I'll put links in the description, and please go check them out. Doing some amazing work. You know, these are the guys who are actually building a Halifax bomber that should start up and taxi. So yes, we've got the tail wheel, and we do have a rim for that. So at some point we will attempt to fit it with a rim, then we can display this properly. There's the Merlin to do. And what else have we got? Okay, not strictly museum related, however it was this casing that provided our reduction gear for display. This casing being from Halifax MZ763. So that one, it wasn't a 51 Squadron aircraft, it was a 78 Squadron at RAF Breton, just up the road. But this aircraft and MZ765 cylinders in the museum, well, those two aircraft must have followed each other through the factory. Anyway, I have created from a cut-off stub, 2 rover brake discs and some PTO shaft. I can now bolt this into the casing, and then we can get the casing painted black. And it turns out, if I can find where the piece of paint is, let me turn this round. Where's it gone? Oh, that way. the black paint on here, that's original. It's a satin black finish and very close to what I've used on the front of the Bristol engine, Bristol Hercules engine. So that will be done in the same black. What else have we got? Oh yes, 2 box spanners. Thought I'd paint them red for Andy just so he don't lose them. And those are for the nuts on the air screw shaft. For a little job at the Elvington Air Museum, Andy will be changing the propeller blades for the correct profile in the near future, hoping to go with him, tag along and maybe do some filming. So I've got that to finish. The Halifax cylinders. This is just a makeshift ignition system, because looking at the spark plugs in those cylinders, they looked quite good, so I decided to put some voltage through them, see if they still spark. And guess what, folks? Watch these clips. So here we have one cylinder from Halifax MZ765, which was with 51 Squadron at RAF Snaith, and on the 17th of February 1945, while going out on a mission, there was an engine fire, the aircraft exploded, and sadly 2 were killed. The spark plugs are still in this, they're in there, and I've just connected an ignition coil up. Let's see if they still work. So I've connected one spark plug up. It's a bit faint, folks, but it sparks for the first time since the 17th of February 1945, folks. Quite amazing. So I've just tried one spark plug of this cylinder from MZ765 of 51 Squadron. It last sparked on the 17th of February 1945. And look at that, folks. It still works. Quite amazing. And of course, we've still got this one to do. The Halifax propeller, folks. This, from an unknown Halifax, I've not managed to find any details, was pulled up out of the wash on the east coast of England. It's a reduction gear that I don't think GT85 will get back into shape and working, which is a real shame. I covered 2 of the blades in a resin to try and save it, because it was literally just flaking away. So she's very rough, but at least it survives. So what I need to do now is, you see all these little bits stuck up, need to flatten those off, and then we can give it a coat of satin black paint, and that's going to be mounted outside at one of the front buildings. So yeah, I need to get this in the workshop, give it a clean up. Not sure what I'm going to do with the reduction gear itself yet. It's a bit beyond saving and it's a ball ache to try and clean it, but we'll do the best we can. We've also got an Anderson shelter. So that will be a future project to, how shall we say, get back into shape and on display. And we'll have 2 air raid shelters then, because we do have a Stanton air raid shelter on site. So yeah, this room, I need to get the propeller out of it, which, believe me, is fun because it's going through quite a narrow doorway for something so big. So that'll be something else maybe I'll film when we do it. Did make me wonder, should I fit it onto the front of the Hercules engine? Comment below, folks. Well, just a short video this week, folks. Just thought I'd show you what I've been up to since the museum closed, and hopefully with the better weather, etc., and longer days with more sunlight, we might just actually get out on some explores and see some new things. So, on that bombshell, catch you on the next one.